Alright, hello everybody. Today we are going to be reviewing a newer movie that actually just came out on Netflix, which actually is surprising that it's just a Netflix film and this didn't somehow make it to theaters. But I guess Netflix does sometimes make some pretty big moves as far as their movies and stuff go, and I feel like Netflix movies are a very big hit and miss, but this one was actually a hit. And I think probably more than likely this was because of the cast they had in the movie, and yeah, it just seemed like it was a big hit. And obviously, I think it was like number three in the popular list for a few days or something. It was probably number one the first day it came out. I can only imagine because I was going to watch it Saturday night after the UFC fights, and then I ended up just watching it. I think I think on Wednesday and Thursday. I kind of split it between the 2 days, but anyhow. So this is obvious. I'm talking about The Gray Man, starring Ryan Gosling, Chris Evans, Anna de Armas, Billy Bob Thornton, Jessica Henwick, Danush, Alfre Woodard, who I thought for some reason was Viola Davis because they looked very similar in this movie. And I think that was pretty much it besides Shea Wingham, who played Six's father. So in the beginning of the movie, he is, well, he's in prison and he's being, I guess, recruited by this guy named Fitzroy into the CIA because I guess he believes that he can use his skills, uh, obviously, to kill people, right? And I guess this Fitzroy guy thinks that he's still somewhat useful. Way back in 2003, I believe, was the first, uh, yeah, was the first time they met. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, it was 2003 at the beginning of the movie. And so he recruits him and basically makes him into this killing machine. And then, yeah, there's a lot of double crossing in this movie, obviously, because at one point, Avik San, I believe that was the main guy, wasn't it? Or maybe it was Carmichael. That was the really crappy guy. I think it actually might have been. I'm gonna have to look at some photos just to remember which one Carmichael was. It has to be him. Yeah, okay. So it was Carmichael that was trying to get Six killed, and then he recruits this other guy that used to be, I guess, in the same agency as Six, Lloyd Hansen, who was played by Chris Evans. And yeah, they just, even though they were on opposite sides, I think they did a really good job of having some chemistry on, like, in the film, obviously, and I think that really helps. And I didn't actually even know that Billy Bob Thornton and Anna de Armas were in this. So Billy Bob Thornton played Fitzroy, obviously, and Anna de Armas played Danny Miranda, who was another agent, I guess, who was actually supposed to bring Six in and was supposed to collect this asset that he had taken off of number four when he kills him at the beginning of the film. Uh, were they in Japan or China? Or no, they were in Bangkok. That's where the film starts, right? In Bangkok, when he's supposed to take out this other obviously bad guy who's about to make a deal, and he finds out that he's actually one of the ex people in the same agency that used to be was in the same agency as Six, and he was number four. So he's actually killing his own kind, and I guess they're kind of coming after all of the old agents and wiping them out. Not really sure. I, there's obviously some reason behind why they're doing it, but uh, yeah, kind of weird they would be trying to wipe them out, huh? I guess maybe because they're done with that program, possibly. And then when Fitzroy's niece gets captured, obviously Six has to protect her because he was supposed to protect her in the beginning. And yeah, Claire was his niece, played by Julia Butters. And so originally, Six was in jail for killing his father because I believe his younger brother was always abused by his father. So one day, Six had just had enough and decided that he was going to, yeah, his father was no longer going to abuse his brother, and then he ended up in jail for it. And then obviously he was recruited by the CIA, so he was turned into a killing machine to do it for them. And then when he disobeys orders and takes this asset off of number four, which was an encrypted um, encrypted USB drive with a whole bunch of stuff on it, basically um, telling all of Carmichael's plans and what they were going to do. Obviously, um, with the help of Lloyd, right? And so I guess Lloyd is supposed to take him out so that this plan can kind of come to fruition, because obviously with the other agents in there, I don't think he would have been able to pull it off. And he obviously didn't want his information leaked, and that's kind of what they are trying to do throughout the entire movie, is leak the information to the press, because if they try to, I guess, pull the encrypted files, they'll encrypt the information even more, so it would never actually end up getting out to the public, so that's kind of crazy. But yeah, so Lloyd does obviously catch up with Six quite a few times, which is unfortunate, and they do have quite a few awesome action scenes in this movie. The first one was obviously on the plane, when you find out that I think this was just before you find out that Fitzroy had been how did he word it? Oh, I'm trying to remember exactly how he worded it because it was perfect. Anyway, they basically blackmailed him into having his guys assassinate number six, and then he's on the phone with him and says that he's been played or leveraged. That was it. He was leveraged into doing what he did there. And obviously, because his niece had been taken, right, and he didn't want her to die, and then they're trying to torture Fitzroy into giving up the location of Six, even though he doesn't even know where he is at this point, right? And then, then Lloyd puts a bounty on Six's head and sends all these different teams of assassins from across the world after him, and he is basically in charge of all these teams. And at one point, they're just killing cops because they don't care. They're just trying to kill him and get this asset back, right? And then I think that was when he sends in. Oh, right, that was it. I think Avik Sin was the guy who uh, Lloyd sent in at one point to bring home the asset, and I think he was the only one that was actually able to have any sort of um, real kind of really kind of contest besides Lloyd. Yeah, really kind of contest Six besides Lloyd. And so there was the action scene on the plane, which was just nuts. Some of the action scenes felt a little bit over the top, especially that one, I think. But then when they're on like the streetcar and they're going down the road, like flying down the road, that one was cool. And obviously the action scenes between Lloyd and Six were really cool, where he just drops a grenade in front of him, and then Lloyd gets tranked by the other girl that is helping. Sorry, I'm just gonna mute my computer. That is helping Six, and then he goes back to the CIA lady who was the other CIA lady? Right, Suzanne. Suzanne Brewer was the other CIA lady, and she doesn't think that any of what is going on should be happening. But I guess Lloyd kind of has free reign because he doesn't actually really work for anybody anymore. So he can kind of do whatever he wants, and the CIA isn't going to get in trouble for it. But then at the end of the movie, Suzanne ends up shooting Lloyd because obviously she doesn't like him, and she doesn't think that whatever he is doing is going to have great consequences towards her job, even though she basically tells Six that um, he has to kind of go about his own way and not talk about what happened, or she'll hunt him down. So at the end of the movie, he ends up going to save Fitzroy's niece. That's right, because Fitzroy's niece was captured, I think, at the end of the movie too, right? So he ends up, after he gets all his injuries, uh, after he gets healed up, because he was the one that was taken by the CIA again and by Suzanne, and they think that they're going to keep him, I guess, locked up or whatever, so that they can use him. That was it. So that they can use him for their own gain. Because now Suzanne thinks that she's going to be able to use him, right? Then he ends up escaping from the compound and going to save the kid. That was it. and thank God he did. So this kind of leaves it was kind of open-ended, and I'm kind of interested to see whether or not they're going to make a sequel out of this. But yeah, definitely a good movie with a star cast and great action scenes. There was a certain part, especially the part where they're talking to Margaret Cahill, who I guess was also either she was an agent or she was just kind of like in the game, but she ends up just blowing up her own house to stop stop some of the guys that are chasing Six. So she was just as nuts as the rest of them, I guess. And she was the one that they took the drive to see if they could get the information off of it, right? And I guess she got off of what she could, but anyhow, yeah, that was definitely a crazy scene. And what else really was there? I guess the scene at the beginning where he's fighting for in like the firework pit and all the fireworks are going off around them, and yeah, that was just some of these action scenes were just crazy. Some of them were over the top, some of them were really good. So yeah, but definitely, I think it is kind of a must-watch movie for sure. And I thought I was going to be talking longer about this, but I guess it's kind of a done before plot, but a very different way of doing it, I think. And I think I don't think I've ever seen Ryan Gosling quite in a role like this before, where there's so much action. I guess kind of like oh God, what was the other one that he was in there a few years ago? I've drawn a blank on it, and I should know it because it's gonna bug me as soon as I see it. Oh yeah, Blade Runner 2049. It was kind of similar to that, but a little kind of like the steroid version of that, I would say, because Blade Runner was slow, and this one was a little bit was obviously faster paced, right? So, yeah, but I did give this movie an 8 out of 10. Uh, I just think that's what it deserves. I don't think yeah, it wasn't quite a 9 or a 10, so it was an 8. It almost made the cut. I was going to actually rate it a little lower, but then when I would say the back half of the movies where it really picks up with the action and stuff, which is what I was expecting from this movie, just from the previews, because it looked really good from the previews. So, yeah, I would say it's definitely a must-watch on Netflix if you have it, and if not, I guess you could probably buy it on like the Xbox store, PlayStation store. I'll actually go check that out and see if you can. Maybe leave it in the description below. Um, or go check it out for yourself if you made it this far into the video to see if you actually can buy it if you don't have any streaming services. I would imagine pretty much everybody has a streaming service this day. And Netflix was the original one. So yeah, this movie was actually worth the watch on Netflix. And I guess that's it. 8 out of 10 for the rating, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.